Tina Blythe visits us from Boston, where she's a researcher at Project Zero at Harvard Graduate School of Education, where she also teaches. She is part of Project Zero online learning team, and she's written several books about topics that fascinate her. How do we become better teachers? How can we support deep understanding and thinking for our students? And how can we grow as teachers while looking at students and teacher work? Tina travels around the world to help teachers evolve their facilitation skills and promote deep learning for their students. Tina, how would you define the role of a teacher?
That is a really interesting question. I think I define a teacher as a facilitator. Somebody who's really there to help facilitate the students coming to their own understanding of the material for our course. And I think that role is challenging, at least I find it challenging as a university teacher, because I love my content, right? I've spent many, many years building up my expertise in this particular area, and I'm really excited about it. And so to shift away from the idea that I am here to bestow my great expertise on my students and to really step back and realize it's not, what I need to do is help them develop their own understanding of this discipline, of this material, not impose my own understanding, my understanding on them.
Yes, that's challenging. Yeah. So, and what do you propose? How do you help them develop their understanding? And then we're talking about a deep understanding, right?
Mm-hmm. So I think here's what I want to steer away from when I'm aiming for deep understanding. I don't want students to master a lot of information, honestly, right? Any information they need, they can find on Google, and they can probably find more up-to-date information than I can give them sometimes. They're very resourceful that way. So my question is always, what can I add that goes beyond the information given, right? And that's really what, at Project Zero, what we think of as understanding, giving students the ability to use what they know in new situations to solve problems that they've never seen before, right? So that's this kind of flexible understanding that lets them, that really prepares them for the future, right?
You use sometimes protocols. Can you explain a little bit what they are and what they serve for?
Yeah, well, so a protocol is just a structured conversation. It's a pretty simple idea, really. It's a tool that pushes students to engage actively with whatever topic it is that we're discussing. So one of my goals as teachers, and I think a goal here at UFM from everything that I've heard and seen from the faculty here, is to really make students the drivers of their own learning, right? To make them the protagonists in their learning journey, not just to be the recipients of information coming from the teacher. And so what protocols do is they lay out a structure that helps students manage their own engagement with the topic, right? And engagement with their colleagues, with their peers, which is also incredibly important in the classroom, right? All learning is fundamentally social, right? We need each other to learn to the degree, to the depths that we're aiming for. And protocols help that. They help us engage with each other's thinking, with each other's ideas, to ask questions, to take perspective. And all of those are just incredibly important skills, I think, across the disciplines.
And one of the key questions we all have as teachers and professors, how can we become a better teacher?
I love this question. I love this question because I feel like I spend my entire life asking myself that. How do I become a better teacher? And I need to ask myself that question. Even after all this time, I feel like there's just so much more for me to learn in this regard. I think we need two things to become better teachers. I think we need reflection time. Some people would say we need more time to practice, right? I think that's true, but even more, we need time to reflect on our practice, right? We need the opportunity to step back, ask ourselves questions, time that's not spent planning, grading student work, meeting with students, all the things that take up our time, right?
When is a good moment to do that?
Oh,
to
gosh.
reflect?
Yeah, it's a good
do you do it
question.
immediately after your class? You take some time in the evening, once a month?
You know, I often say it's whatever works for you. Have a colleague, we were having this conversation. She said, you know, the only time that works for me is I have about 20 minutes on Friday between the time my last class ends and the time I have to go pick my son up at school. That is the only time I have during the week, but that's great, right? 20 minutes is still, that's gold, right? For just capturing a few thoughts or even just being able to take a few deep breaths, right? And I think the other thing we need, in addition to reflection time, is time to meet and talk with our colleagues, right? That is so important because we all have our blind spots. We all have the things that we just can't see about ourselves because of the assumptions we make, or, you know, that's the way we've always done it. We all kind of teach the way we were taught, right? We rarely think to ask questions about that, right?
We don't question.
That's right. So, but when I talk to my colleagues, they start asking me questions. Why do you do it that way? That's interesting. I'm like, oh, because I never thought of any other way, honestly. But they have lots of great ideas. So my own thinking gets enriched. I just feel like this is so essential. You know, many other professions have this built in to the profession, right? Doctors consult with other doctors, lawyers consult with other lawyers, and that's just understood to be what they do. So I feel like we need some mechanism here for teachers to just have that be built in, to have it be part of how we live our professional lives. You know?
Great. Good.
To be a teacher in the right sense is to be a learner. We, the teachers, learn from the learners. We learn to understand what they understand and in the way they understand it. And there's nothing more fascinating to me than that process.